Hey, what's up guys? My name is Zach. I also go by Shy Guy. And today I'm going to be breaking down some of my shots. This shot here, the whole premise of the video, this kind of just goes through like what feels like life for most people, where expectations are the root of all suffering. I match cut with a bunch of different desk setups, and there's like this sort of intermission within where I'm just kind of floating and everything else around me is floating. Basically, this is just a combination of a bunch of different layers put on top of each other. So how did I get the laptop to float? So camera's set up in the same position the whole time, and I'm just off to the side with the laptop, like floating it up, right? And then I do that for every object in the frame that is floating. So then when I go back in to edit, I literally just mask out this singular laptop. I just keyframe it and move it around, and then overlay that on top, and then I do the same for all the other things. After we got all the shots of everything else, we moved everything out of the way, kept the same lighting setup. So how I float, I jumped in the air. I've gotten my vertical pretty high because of this. I'm shooting in 120 FPS on my Sony FX3. I do 120 FPS because most of the time I'm floating, it's super slow motion, and you have to shoot in 120 if you want it to be very smooth. I think I brought this clip down to 10% speed, and at that point you're getting like a few frames per second, so it's still pretty choppy. And then from there I edit in DaVinci and I do retime scaling and I do optical flow. What that does, it blends the frames together, so it goes from really skippy frames to just like one smooth frame, and that helps a lot with slow motion. I basically think of this black void area as my green screen in a way. I brought it into DaVinci and made a 3D keyer tool. I take this image of me floating and then I draw around all the blacks, and then that just removes all the blacks in the picture, and it just leaves me with a transparent video of myself right here, and then I overlay that. If I'm like shooting these shots where the background isn't, completely like one color, I'll usually bring it into After Effects because the masking tends to be a lot better. I guess I do have to consider the lighting setup here. This shot did start where I was just sitting down, and then the beat drops. It was just a spotlight over here blasting pretty hard light right into me. That was like the only light we used for this shot. It's like this super old, cheap aperture light, like super vintage. I've been using it for a lot of videos because it makes a really good color temperature that I like. All right, here's the next one. Oh, I love this video so much. So this was when I was really into like liminal spaces. I went way out into kind of the middle of nowhere because I liked how it went uphill and it just looked like it kind of just ended up there. The only real thing in this whole shot is the road and me. This grass technically is not fake, but this grass is not here. The sky, this is a fake sky that I got from something completely different. In the log footage, there's houses over here. There's power lines going throughout the whole thing. There's like a giant barn over here. The road like just kept going. These are like crop fields, like it's just dirt. So what I did, I went out and I got a clean plate of just a grassy field. And then I literally made a mask around the road right here and right here, and then just overlaid this grass onto those masks right here, so it just fits into these blocks. I knew when I wanted to get this shot, I wanted it to be like 50-50 horizon and the land. I filmed the grass in the same way, where grass was half part of the image. And with the sky, I kind of did the same thing. A simple mask, just right here. I just made a nice little mask outline and then overlaid the clip of the sky on top of it. I didn't really take anything out. I was just adding things on top. You can see the shadow of one of the power lines right here, and if you look further down the road, you could see the shadow of more power lines. So for the coloring, I wanted it to be very nostalgic because I was using this nostalgic sound of morning doves. It's like this warm, bright feeling. I wanted my image to be warm and bright and saturated. to match that whole vibe of this feeling. Okay, this one is a lot of fun. So as you can tell, I'm getting absolutely blown backwards in the middle of this random street, and it looks like I'm just gonna fall onto the pavement and, you know, break my tailbone. It's all a lie. So basically, what I'm hiding in this image is this right here is a sort of mattress pad, and then right back here is my good friend right here pulling me onto the mattress pad with like a bunch of strings of fishing line attached to each other and attached to my belt loop. The reason you can't see it is because I hid it. It wasn't AI, it wasn't generative fill. It was once again more masking. We took a video for a second, just so as the clean plate of the whole environment, and then we went out there and did the setup. I wanted to get rid of this stuff right here. So basically, I just made a mask of this part of the image and just overlaid it on top of that part of the image. But there's also an issue, because when we do that, the natural shadows from that clip disappear because I'm overlaying just a blank street on top of right here. So we're missing shadows. It just wouldn't make sense if there wasn't a shadow in an empty street with all these street lights. Let's say we have me falling back. You know, the light's shooting at me from here. My shadow is not going to be the same exact size. Basically, you have to consider how light hits you. You know, it's going to stretch out my shadow. It's going to make it more distorted. See right there, that looks realistic in itself. You know, rather than just copy and pasting a fake shadow. Like, which one looks more realistic? I took this, I believe I went into After Effects, and I mashed this, you know, this image, this video of me falling, and I got a mask of this, and I just made it black, and then I just overlaid it on top of the street. I remember shooting this, I was literally perpendicular with the light right here. So that just means that a single shadow is going to be cast right behind me. So I just transformed it and really tried to match the lighting setup that was there. This shot is actually zoomed in a bunch, because when you're match cutting, you have to give yourself some space, because you're not going to match the distance perfectly every time. You need space to work with, so shooting in 4K is going to make the difference, so you can blend the frames together. This shot, I'm just transporting through different doors, going to different locations. Very VFX heavy. And this one, the door opens up to reveal me, and I'm in this long empty hallway. This is just two separate clips on top of each other. Obviously, we are masking once again. Shot 1 is with the door in this empty street. Shot 2 is our hallway. So the setup was literally two of my friends down on the road, while I am on a gimbal, just pushing through and slowly moving forward, tracking through the door. And in the next shot, we have me in a hallway. My friend was on the gimbal this time, and I was walking down the hallway through here. As long as you're relatively close to the same speed, it will match up and it'll look good. We have our door here. Let's say our door is opening. Damn, that's a good door. Look at that. In this black area, this would all be, just the other end of the road on the other side. I just masked out this area frame by frame, just so it leaves that open, empty space in the clip, and then literally put this second clip on the bottom of the first. I kind of like being in the middle of nowhere and on these empty roads. So this location right here, we were literally just in the middle of the road in rural Illinois. And then the second shot where I was in the hallway, this was actually in the mall in my town. We were like, let's try and get in the back rooms of the mall, because I bet that would look so cool. So we went to the manager of the mall. He was so excited. He gave us a tour around every single hallway in the back of the mall. And it was sick. It was like I used a lot of the hallways in the shots. This is, I think, my most popular video. I really like this one. This location is in a church parking lot. What you can't see in this shot is right back here in this sort of line. This is just a street. So cars were flying past like every few minutes. And like in the background here, there's lights that I had to take out. Most apps or most editing softwares have this tool called a clone stamp tool. Let's say I want to take out this X. And all around this X is just black area. So what the clone stamp tool does, it draws onto this X, taking footage and data from this part of the image. So it is just directing this part of the image onto that. So I was just basically moving this black from here onto a light that would be right here. I guess the main image right here is this, me right here, and this is an add-on. After we got the shot of me running towards right here, we kept the camera in the same spot because we wanted to keep the resolution. And then we set up a cooler. I found a very small cooler in my garage, and I sat on it like this. And just set up the camera, 120 FPS, of course, and did the motion of me falling backwards. I was wearing a button-up shirt, so if I was laying on this cooler, my shirt would have been all baggy, and it would have been like laying down. And if I was flying through the air, my shirt wouldn't have been doing that. It would have been flowing with the wind. So I had my friend, once again with the fishing line, we attached the fishing line to the bottom buttonholes of my shirt. He was pulling it, doing this motion with his hands. And then I just mask out my body, just overlay that on top of this original image. Right before this, there's the shot of, my two hands coming in together, like touching. And then whoosh, they get blown back and I start floating. So the setup for that was my hand right there. So I have my friend holding like a nice cheap panel light, just shooting straight down, trying to, reenact this light. So we have this panel light right here. And then I was on one side just doing this multiple times. And then I'd go off to the other side doing this multiple times with both my hands. And then I bring in both those clips, overlay them on top of each other, transform it so it looks like they're touching. So it's just two separate clips of my hands coming in together. The hardest part about it all is making it look real. Getting rid of each of these small little lights in the background, making sure the lighting looks good. Slowing down the speed ramp of this clone, the other fake shadow that I made. So it's all about the small details, just to sell the effect that much more. When you combine all these small details into a very simple concept, it just brings everything together.